Hi, I'm Jane, and I'm part of Assemble. We're a multidisciplinary collective. We focus on architecture, so we're, I suppose, the sort of artists and designers of the show.
Yeah, and I'm Holly, and I'm also from Assemble.
And I'm Lisa from Nottingham Contemporary. I'm the Learning Programme Manager, and I manage the Schools of Tomorrow programme.
So we're interested in all sorts of things, everything from architecture through to exhibition design, but also making opportunities for like product design, absolutely all sorts.
So Assemble has a kind of sister organisation called Assemble Play, and that places play workers in public space to do loose parts play. So we're really interested in how play can manifest in kind of unexpected places, and that really felt like an exciting opportunity here at Nottingham Contemporary. Yeah, so this particular project really grew out of a inspiration from a drawing by Lina Bo Bardi of the Museum of Art of São Paulo. She made this drawing in 1968. It's a wonderful illustration of these fantastical play sculptures in front of the art gallery, which was nearing completion. But it was the height of the military dictatorship, and what she is depicting is pretty much impossible to realise. And Sam Thorne, the director of Nottingham Contemporary, approached us asking us if we knew anything about this drawing. I think me and Holly were like, well, yes, we know quite a lot about this drawing.
Love that drawing.
Love that drawing. Both Holly and I spent quite a bit of time in Brazil, and as Holly said, we've done a kind of touring exhibition about Lina's work and are really interested in different ways of both talking about some of her ideas, but also thinking about how, especially her political approach to architecture, has relevance within a contemporary context.
Yes, it really comes back to the image, which we've both spent a lot of time looking at and admiring. And when you really zoom into it, because you normally see it at sort of this scale, when you really zoom in, it's like rich in detail. There's so much in there. So just unpacking it, and it looks like there's these kind of play structure, and there's what's going on there. Sort of really curious. In particular, there are two sculptures that we were really interested in sort of recreating, beginning with the big red, which we are sat on here, which is great to see in the flesh.
It's big and it's red.
It's huge, it's red. It's got multiple slides for going down the stairs, climbing up.
Or vice versa.
Or vice versa.
We'll find out.
But I guess our interpretation of the drawing, so very much looking at the drawing, trying to work out what was going on there and how we thought children were engaging with it. So the big red, which we called it ourselves out of the drawing, it's not necessarily called that. And then there's another sort of image lower down in the drawing of what we call the animal roundabout. And it's this sort of like circle of colour, which you'll see in exhibition, and it's got all these fun animals that are really curious. And it was our interpretation of the drawing, really zooming in to try and work out what creatures they were, and we gave them names. And it's so fun through this exhibition that we've been able to interpret them and bring them to life in 3D. And then there was this idea about a third sculpture, and we thought, how can we engage that more locally with Nottingham Contemporary and the Schools of Tomorrow programme? So that's how that came about.
The Schools of Tomorrow programme is a 4-year Paul Hamlin funded programme where we have partnered with 8 schools in the city. 7 of those are primary schools and 1 of them is a nursery school. It's an action-led, research inquiry-based programme whereby the artists are resident in the school throughout the 4 years. And this was a great opportunity where Assemble seen some potential with what the artists were doing in the schools and how it relates to what they were looking at with Lina's work. So each school is very, very different. And each programme within that school is quite bespoke to their needs and also to what our artists can support with. So they work very closely with the teachers to collaborate, and it's about creating a third space, that collaboration space. So they were developing creative hubs within the school as part of the programme, and each school had a different focus on how that was realised within their school. And it was about changing environments and how that affects behaviours and how it affects the teaching within the school as well.
We've been working closely with Robin Hood Primary School, Jubilee Academy and Nottingham Nursery and the associate artists in those respective schools. And what was really interesting is that 2 of them are actually qualified trained play workers. So we're having really interesting conversations about play, the role of play within the built environment. And each one had a really clear kind of line of inquiry about investigating themes around play in their own kind of contexts. And they seem to resonate really nicely with the different sculptures that we were starting to develop. So for example, the animal roundabout has all these kind of movable parts, and we talked a lot with Sean Watson about this idea of being a builder or a pusher or a destroyer. This idea really came out of working with Laura at Robin Hood around running and just being able to move freely between spaces as they showed us around their school, which was really nice. And hide and seek was a big theme at Jubilee Academy. So we're really hoping that when the kids come and see the sculptures in place, that they recognise maybe some of the things that we talked to them about, and especially what they showed us when we visited. So it was, in a way, a series of informal workshops with the associate artists in their schools, asking the kids themselves to tell us about how they play and what they think the topic is all about, rather than it being a kind of adult-led investigation.
So we had great fun with the third sculpture with Robin Hood Primary School. We did 2 workshops, which was great fun, and actually playing with clay, and it was we wanted it to be child-led. So we just had the 2 sessions, lots of white clay, and we just said, come on kids, what do you want to make? We showed them the image, Lina's image of MASP. We talked through the 2 sculptures that we've already designed and sort of let them go, free rein with the third sculpture, which was so much fun. And over the course of the 2 sessions, different ideas kind of emerged, and we had a whole range of pieces that came out of it, which are fired and in the exhibition, which is great fun. Well, the main piece that came out of it, that was designed, is the funhouse, and that is what we've used now to interpret the third sculpture.
I think there are elements there that were explored within the school, such as the climbing, the tactile qualities of materials. So quite a lot of elements which were explored in the workshop actually have come through into the third sculpture about how that physicality of movement and play. So I think there was that cumbersome element of how the smaller children were pushing and pulling and moving objects. And so I think that comes across quite clearly in the large sort of soft sculptures within the animal roundabout, where it's going to take a small child to really sort of push them, or they have to work in pairs, and it's about collaboration, and that's something that came through quite strongly.
Which is exactly what Robin Hood was saying when we were asking them about how do they like to play, and they said, we want to play with lots of people. And you say, well, how many is that? And they're like, at least 10. I was like, okay, at least 10 people. Great. So we'll see. I think the thing that has been of immense value to me and Holly, and I think Assemble as a practice more widely, has been the collaboration with Schools of Tomorrow and the associate artists. We kind of didn't know each other at the beginning at all, and particularly during this kind of difficult time in the pandemic, building those relationships has been really important. And you'll see in the gallery work by all the different associate artists, and we really think of it as a group show where we're all exhibiting something which has been the outcome of this whole process for us. So,
including work produced by the children.
So you'll be able to see the work from the pupils from the schools that are working with Schools of Tomorrow around the exhibition. There are some large typographical quotes which come from the play prompts, from the play manifesto that was with Robin Hood Primary School, and they have been produced in a font which is called Us, which is by Milford Academy. You'll also find there are some small narratives quotes around the room, at different heights, different levels above your head, and they were produced by Melbury Primary School. And that provides a different type of play. It provides a creative thinking approach to play, where the narrative comes first and the play responds to that. We also have a graphic work which is about rules, which sort of plays with the rules quite a lot, but very much from a children's perspective, and that is from Edna G. Olds Academy. We also have Nottingham Nursery represented in 3 images, which are the 3 stages of play, which depict the first sort of stages before play happens, during play, and then the remnants after play. They've also produced a film which was with the GoPro, and you had a GoPro on, didn't you? So all the children had, and the staff had GoPro cameras on, which has captured it from different perspectives about the play that they were doing at the nursery. And so you can catch glimpses of that film from certain heights within the gallery. There's also incorporated into the funhouse is the audio work from Nottingham Nursery as well, which records the sounds of the nursery as it happens. So, and they're on push pads in the funhouse.
Yeah, disguised within the structure. So I think we talked a lot about curiosity with the associate artists, and curiosity being a really important element of play. So it was really nice to be able to bring ideas around play, mainly around kind of movement and embodiment and engagement with each other into the funhouse with one school, and then bringing Nottingham Nursery's kind of audio element hidden within.
I think another theme as well that I found really interesting was in talking to children about what makes play. And you know, we don't necessarily think of this exhibition as for children. I mean, the Schools of Tomorrow programme is with children, but we think this is an exhibition for all ages. And it was really interesting talking to the children about that and what their understanding of play was, whether it had to be with children or alone or with adults, and how adults would engage with the space and play differently.
So that ties in really nicely with the play prompts that were generated by the children for adults. And they produced a series of Riso prints, which you'll be able to see on Weekday Cross window, which are presented to an adult audience on how the children perceive that they require the prompts to play. There's also work featured by Jubilee Lead Academy pupils with their artist Jill Brent. And these are very much about making with hands and doing, and so there's a film which focuses on them actually doing, creating sculptures to play with within their school environment, and there's also some annotated images as well to support aspects of play that they've identified. This is the first big collaborative project that we've done internally with our teams, with our exhibitions team and our live programmes team. And then therefore that extended externally as well to the collaboration with Assemble, but also brings in the collaboration with the 8 partner schools as well, which also then ties in the collaboration with our associate artists as well. So it's quite interesting how that's sort of developed and how many people are involved in that collaborative process, where the children are really at the heart of it, because it's it's them that are actually bringing everything to life and that we're reading and taking those prompts from.
It's really about creating a sense of ownership for users of the gallery who aren't necessarily the kind of target audience for the exhibitions themselves. And a lot of the schools we work with, quite a few of the children had never been to Nottingham Contemporary and will be coming for the first time. And so to see the institution as really part of their city, and that builds on a lot of work that we have done through various projects in Assemble around the role of play in the built environment and creating a sense of ownership for children and by extension kind of communities about the places in which they live. And in addition, the Lina Bo Bardi drawing talks so much about the lens of childhood as a way for adults and others to maybe shift the perspective on what they understand is, I suppose, accepted or permissive forms of behaviour. So these really large sculptures, kind of like nothing you've seen in a regular playground, within the galleries, is really about trying to kind of create a bold move that breaks down some of these barriers, but offers new opportunities for maybe embracing a different set of occupations of the space.
And it is a dynamic exhibition in the sense that we will have a lot of activity happening on gallery, which will change the space. Obviously the structures will still remain, but the spaces between will become something else. So it's not an exhibition to visit once, it's an exhibition to revisit, not only to play, but also there'll be additional elements that you can explore within the spaces. So we mentioned that there were some narratives from Melbury Primary around the space. So Peter Rumney, who was their associate artist, will develop that idea and have, for example, storytelling within the gallery. We've also worked with Huntington Lead Academy, and they'll be producing some challenge boxes which have tasks for our visitors to do in and around the galleries. And then also we've been working with artist Charlotte Tupper, and she's been working with Southwold Primary School, and they'll be developing our immersive environment for our family activities this summer. So there's quite a lot of activity which surrounds the exhibition that the schools have all contributed to also.